I am the contrarian, and this is my world.
I'm Mehul. I'm from the organizers of two of India's exciting technology events, CeBIT India and Plugged in India. On the contrarian today, I'm going to take on Rajiv's view on smart cities. Smart cities are a need for today, and they are here to stay.
Smart cities. Just using those words makes you feel so good and intelligent, right? And most people seem to think it's the promised land, it's the holy grail. You live in a smart city, your life will be amazing and very, very smart. But is it really? I mean, what is a smart city? Who defines it? And what will you feel when you're in a smart city? Intelligent or a little dumb? Well, we're about to find out first, what is a smart city and why do we need it?
The first and foremost pillar of a smart city is that it is lived in and co-governed by smart citizens. So it's not just the ICT that's smart, it's not just the utilities that are smart, it's how the collaborative systems of democracy work together. Secondly, a smart city that we have envisaged for India varies across various parts of India, whether it's a mid-size or the large size or it's a satellite. So there isn't, let's say, one standardized definition of a smart city, but it essentially boils down to making yours and my life easier by easing the infrastructure woes, by making good use of limited resources of energy, water, etc. that we have.
Isn't a smart city, if not defined, I could call a smart city that has 6 pockets of free Wi-Fi a smart city because some people decided to call that a smart city, or versus the very fact that you said it's a smart city will be that has people that can actually get advantage and has smart citizens. But if you really look at any smart city definition, including the examples we have some abroad, it's more about technology than the people. And a lot of people feel very left out because they don't understand that technology. So isn't that the greatest problem? Smart cities aren't for people, they're a showcase of technology.
Smart cities, the foundation of a smart city is making the life, whether it's business or personal, easier for the city dweller. Now, going back to the various points you raised there, if you look at the various examples of smart cities around the world, they do a list of things which vary, but on the core, they do a couple of things which are always
So let's define a few. So some examples, I mean, I've been to one or two, you've been to quite a few in Europe.
Right.
Define a few with examples that you thought were very impressive, and you being there even as a guest or as a tourist, did really make you feel you're in a smart city.
I'll give you the example of Paris. I lived there for a couple of years, and in those couple of years, I saw bikes come in on areas which you could just pick the bike up, drive or cycle to work, as opposed to jumping a taxi or getting onto a crowded metro. At the same time now, when I returned recently, it was Nice, not Paris, they had the bikes, but on top of that, they had electric cars, which can take you from A to Z at the fraction of the price of a cabbie. And at the same time, it reduces your emission fuels, all of that. So what they're doing is they're attacking bits and pieces at a time, and they're making a future smart city by taking steps to make the city smarter, one step at a time.
When you take context from, let's say, abroad and try and bring it to India, both attitude as well as the number of people and the problems that are already there make it a very dumb idea that you can't really translate it.
I think the argument for standards is very, very vital, but what we must do is build a smart city one phase at a time with a clear end vision for what we will do for the citizen of that smart city in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So it's not Rome wasn't built in a day. In the same way, smart city is not going to be built overnight, but there is a greater and greater commitment to using resources better and for citizens to be involved in government. We want transparency. There is various things like RTI, et cetera, floating around. Smart cities and all the infrastructure surrounding it will kind of put the written complaints away, and we'll be able to connect directly with the governance and sort it out faster.
Okay, so would It'd be a good way to describe smart cities would be a utopian world, because, you know, it seems like what you're describing is almost dreamlike, because, you know, you can do public transport and you may be able to do a little bit of renewable energy, but then to put all the other bits and pieces together that make it all work like an ecosystem. For instance, in Barcelona and, you know, parts of Spain where other smart city components have been kind of banded together, it's interesting that one of the biggest complaints now is that most people seem to think that it's a nice life, but they seem to think that their security and privacy has gone for a complete toss. They seem to think that they are tracked at all times. And this is just the start. I mean, we haven't even got 1% or 2% of what a smart city should be into place, and people already feel they're being watched.
All the research and all the work that we're seeing done, the security intelligence is built into the framework of the ICT networks, and these networks are actively, proactively looking for threats to the system and solving it. So there's a lot of smart things going on while we're walking around.
Exactly, but we are being tracked for it too. I mean,
right. Either you're being tracked or you're being
watched,
safeguarded.
Has somebody done a bill of materials for what it would cost to make a smart city versus, I have only one other word, our current dumb cities? Because the costs seem to be so amazingly high. Who's going to fund it? If it's going to be what every government talks about right now, must be a public-private partnership, then it's a recipe for disaster, because it basically means there will be companies involved that will be doing it for profit and government that will be doing it for politics, and that's always been a very heady to extremely corrupt concoction. What would you say?
A smart city is run in partnership with the people, along with the elected officials in power, or the bureaucrats. So there is a PPP model that is fundamentally essential to the running of a smart city.
So you are saying it would be needed?
Yes,
There's
absolutely.
no two ways about it.
I mean, you and I would have to control our smart city, keep and ensure that the people who are, let's say, our guardians for the smart city are accountable, are held accountable, and we'll be able to do it really fast, as opposed to a long procedure that we have to sometimes pursue. What we're seeing from the government right now is a very cohesive policy. Bill of materials, the land allocation is a massive bill of material, and I think this is where the government comes in and plays a big part. In terms of I think it's a 70 billion fund that has been announced. I think for us that is a signal of intent, as opposed to this is what it's going to cost us.
If you see the last 6 or 7 governments that have come across the world that have started to kind of find their feet, including the government here in India, it's a very easy, simple, straightforward promise to make to people, which is, okay, citizens of the country, here we go. We are now going to change your life because we're going to give you 100 smart cities and your life will become so much the better. All right. Unfortunately, it is a political plank, or is it fortunately something that you believe personally, from everything that you've been seeing happening right now, could actually happen? Because 100 is a seriously big number.
Yeah.
No other country in the world has announced anything near this, right? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the talent? Do we have the experience? And do we have the kind of people that will be able to live in a smart city?
We have been exporting technology services from India for well over 30 years now, I think.
But we're not a product and execution company.
Not
well, country at all.
It's changing. I think, you know, if you look at the initiatives by the current government and the bodies that are fronting it, NASCOM, MySpirit, etc., you know, they've all got product in the center. Secondly, I think we've got a frightful amount of mobile phones, more mobile phones than population, so we are well connected. And no pun intended, we are smart. You know, we're smart at knowing what we want and demanding, but the perspective and the core aim of a smart city is you can't keep asking without doing something towards making your life better. A smart city will only work if you work in collaboration with the government.
So are you really saying that this would actually empower people to do things, and it will actually be something where I will not hopelessly sit back and say, I can't do anything about the road, I can't do anything about the electricity, I can't do anything about the water, I cannot do anything about the environment. You're saying this will empower people? Because that's a very, very powerful statement to make, with absolutely no examples of it around right now.
Sure.
Right? But you're saying that?
Yes, I'm saying absolutely that. It's the absolute foundation. You know, a smart city needs smart citizens. You can't have amazing infrastructure and not know how to use it, or get involved in using it in the right way.
At the end, I always do a quick fire round, so I'm going to start off that one with you. No chocolate baskets for you if you answer them all right. Okay. will this leave people behind? Those that are technology challenged, those that don't want to be part of it, they're not going to change their cities, they don't want the public transport, they don't own a mobile phone which is smart. Will it leave certain sections behind?
It's actually going to bring those sections
Can you give me an
in.
example? Because
Yeah.
very heavy duty technology, even at its simplest level, is usually rejected by those that don't want to play with technology.
A smart city will actually enable you to do things easier.
But it does
You
involve
don't need to
the
have a
fact
degree
that,
in computer science to
right,
be a smart
no,
citizen.
So no rocket science required out here. But for it to be truly smart, I should have something which will tell me the next electrical car is here. I need to
Right.
get to it.
Right.
Somebody else will come to know that the car that I'm driving will get parked in approximately 3.5 minutes. That person must have a device too. Will it not leave people behind? I mean, I see a huge situation, those that cannot afford it and those that cannot handle it will get left behind even more because the smart city will make them very dumb.
You evolve to keep up, and you evolve also to have what you know will make your life easier. And that's always a choice. So people who are left behind are normally people who don't want to do anything about it.
One barrier, the biggest barrier that you see between today and actual smart cities being implemented?
It has to be a vision that is collaborative and cohesive across the various states in India. I think the central government has to work a lot in aligning all those visions and giving and ensuring what one state needs is delivered, whilst what another state needs might be different, is respected and delivered. So I think collaboration is key.
It shouldn't be different states and different cities having
Yeah, it
their
shouldn't be
own versions.
no politicized
I think you're
agendas.
ending by what I started with. Standardization of smart cities would be a good
Non-politicization of smart
All
city.
right, great. Thank you so much once again.
A pleasure.
Great to find out about smart cities and your vision of it.
Thank
So I
you.
think there you have it. Not too far away, really. You'll start seeing some small little pockets, maybe not full cities, maybe a locality, maybe a small area that goes a little smart with various things. Will it all come together, or will this go down in flames as a smart city? Was a dumb idea? Well, we'll find out very, very soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.